And now, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
That's right. This is the Consumer Quarterback Show with Brandon Rhymes. Brandon is out today. My name is James DeJerome. I'm the executive producer of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Been working with Brandon about 4 years now as his producer. Of course, the Consumer Quarterback Show is coming up on our 10-year birthday pretty soon, 10-year anniversary of being a consumer advocate for all you folks out in the Bay Area. Brandon has done a great job with that, accumulating our great team of folks that work for his Platinum MVP real estate team, folks on the show here, and a great bunch of sponsors for the program. Replenish IV Solutions is the sponsor for this program. They've been with Brandon almost from the beginning. Steve and Lisa Gunnan, longtime friends of the show. If you're worried about your immune system, and who is not these days, these folks can come directly to your home or business and give you a vitamin infusion right into your bloodstream. Again, really unique business model. They're interested in making sure that you're healthy. Get in touch with them. Replenish IV Solutions. Check them out online as well. And of course, Brandon owns the Platinum MVP team. We've got real estate opportunities for you, even in this time of scarcity throughout the Bay. Johnny's our TV producer. He's going to throw up a little property for me on the screen. If you're looking in Tampa, we've got an office building. Looks like a commercial opportunity here. 4302 North Nebraska Ave. About 2,100 square feet. Spacious office building in the Seminole Heights area. Wood flooring, decorative fireplace, corner lot. About 50,000 cars a day are going to pass this spot. And you've got your own billboard. So built-in advertising right there at 4302 North Nebraska in Tampa. Get in touch with Brandon and the Platinum MVP team. What else, John? Oh, here we go in Safety Harbor. If you're looking to get into the Safety Harbor area, right in the heart of Safety Harbor, 2360 Newburgh Lane. He's got a unit A up there, 2-bed, 2-bath. And we've got a ground floor unit, 2 private balconies, outdoor storage, big community pool. HOA dues cover everything. Again, if you want to get into Safety Harbor, get in touch with Brandon and the Platinum MVP team. He always says, don't leave money on the table. Okay, great show for you today. I've got a feel-good story for you about some volunteers doing great stuff for Thanksgiving. We always want to mention our folks in the Bay Area that are reaching out to help others. And Anthony Rickman from the Rickman Law Firm is right here in our Salem Media Group studios. Thanks so much for coming in, Anthony.
Thank you for having me.
Been great. This is an area we love to talk with legal issues on the show. Brandon always does that. We've talked in the past about how to select an attorney. I thought you had some great information about when you're looking for an attorney. You know, a lot of people want the highest profile, but maybe you want someone who's familiar with your particular issue. What have you seen as far as client selection of an attorney? Then we're going to turn it around and talk about the other side.
Well, especially in my world, criminal defense. I mean, it's important you find an attorney who's right for you. There's hundreds of attorneys, out there advertising the internet. Fancy websites, nice, shiny car type deals. But you need an attorney who's going to be able to represent you and get the best result for you. So in selecting an attorney, especially in my field in criminal defense, you want an attorney who is able to handle the case that you are charged with particularly. If you're charged with a homicide, a vehicular homicide, a DUI, you don't want to hire somebody who has experience handling misdemeanors. You want to hire somebody who has experience handling the type of case that you're charged with. And people advertise on the internet. People have, billboards. We see on a civil world. You can't drive down the interstate without seeing Size Matters or whatever Morgan & Morgan is doing, whatever their competitors are doing. But it goes beyond just having a fancy billboard or a fancy website. It's understanding what that attorney is able to bring to the table and how that attorney can help you. So it's important when you're selecting an attorney to interview that attorney. I tell people who come in and who call me, interview me, sit down and talk to me. I'll give you as much time as necessary. I'm not going to charge you to come talk to me. And at the end of the day, go talk to other people. When it's all said and done, I know what I can do for you. I know I can give my clients the best result. But it's important that they sit down and just hire somebody off an ad. Sit down, understand that attorney, what the attorney's handled. Do some research on the attorney. Understand what he's capable of doing. Look at his case results to make the best decision that you can make in hiring somebody.
So a lot of the same principles that we talk about when getting involved in any business venture here. Do your homework. It's on you. This may be an attorney, but it's still, there are resources out there to get involved and find out what his, there may not be a site that lists all your cases and history in terms of your legal case, but by investigating your reviews, talking to other folks that have been represented by you, there's certain, there's not a central body that provides any kind of consumer report or anything like that?
Well, no, I mean, if you go to the Florida bars, you always want to see if the attorney has any bar grievances, has any issues. Martindale-Hubbell, that's the big one for us as attorneys. You want to see if that attorney's peer reviewed. I'm peer reviewed. I'm Martindale-Hubbell AV rated, which is the highest rating you can have as an attorney through Martindale-Hubbell. There are resources. Now, a lot of lawyers, you can pay for plaques to put on your wall.
Right. Just like
And
anyone.
Just like anyone, you could top 100, top this, and these fly-by-night companies. There are real companies that do vet attorneys, super lawyers, Legal Elite, Martindale Hubbell. These are companies that have vetted me and rated me superior,
Gotcha.
and from super lawyers, Legal Elite, Martindale Hubbell, those type of companies that are reputable. But there's a way to research that way. The other way to do it is go to the clerk of court. Put in the attorney's name. You'll see how many cases that attorney has, what type of cases that attorney handles.
Right.
And you can see the actual dispositions of cases and the actual case results.
Because much like every other field, there's specialization, just like in the medical field, whatever it might be. And that idea that you want to kind of get someone who's very familiar with what's going to be coming for you because you're in a position where you don't see quite as far down the road as they can.
Oh, without a doubt. And go beyond the attorney's website. For instance, I handle a lot of high-profile cases. And you can look at my website, but Google the name.
Right.
You can see what type of cases this attorney's handled if you are charged with a serious offense in the media. If they've handled a homicide and you have a similarly situated homicide, look at the results. Look at what happened. So there's ways to do the independent research, but be informed before you hire an attorney.
Anthony, has a client ever asked you about a specific relationship you have with a judge? They might say, this judge might get this case, and I want someone who this judge likes.
Yeah, it's important to have relationships in everything we do in life. Myself, I was a former prosecutor. So people ask me, what did you do? Well, I was a former prosecutor. I was a state attorney. I know how the prosecutor is going to try this case because I was there. I sat in their shoes. And for me, that's been very important. So people ask me, are you a former prosecutor? And when you look at an attorney, look at their relationships, whether or not they're recognized in their community, what other prosecutors have to think about them, what judges think about them. Now, you don't say, hey, look, I know the judge, I'm going to get you some sort of special deal. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
But having knowledge of the court, having knowledge of the parties, having knowledge of the judge, the system is important. For me, being a former prosecutor, I have relationships with the state attorney's office that other attorneys may not have.
Right.
A lot of attorneys who now are in high-ranking positions at the state attorney's office, I may have trained when they were new prosecutors.
Right.
So yes, it is important to have those relationships and hire an attorney with the relationship. If you're charged in Hillsborough County, you may want to get a Hillsborough County attorney who's familiar with the prosecutors in Hillsborough County, who's a prosecutor, like myself, who's a prosecutor here in Tampa.
Right.
But also, if you exceed Hillsborough County, I have clients all over the state. I have relationships with those prosecutors and judges as well.
Is it commonplace for folks out there that are considering you as an attorney for you to then go, let me research the judge? Would you ever, as an attorney, do your research on this particular judge and then come back and say, I can represent you best because X, Y, and Z?
I can represent my clients in front of any judge.
Okay.
But you do want to know your audience. In every setting, in every courtroom, you want to know your audience. And what I do is I'll call the judicial assistant. I'll go and watch. If I've never been in front of a judge before, I'm going to go watch how he handles his sentencing,
that's what I was asking.
how he handles his motions, how he rules. I'm going to look at other rulings that he or she may have had in similar cases to understand what this judge likes, what this judge doesn't like. Now, in my experience, I've handled thousands of cases, so I think I've been in front of almost every judge,
Right.
and from here to Polk to Pasco, Pinellas, especially in Hillsborough County. So as an experienced attorney, you're going to know your judge, know your audience, know what that judge likes, what that judge doesn't like.
Just like scouting or whatever it might be, getting an advanced look, if you're a sports guy like I am, that's the critical information that you got to have. Now, Anthony, we talked a little bit about how someone might select an attorney. When you're an attorney and you're approached by someone, how do you decide if this case is the kind of case I want to get involved with?
Look, for me as a criminal defense attorney, if you come to me and you're charged with a crime, I'm going to evaluate your case. And most likely, I'm going to represent you because everyone has the right to representation. For me, I'm not a public defender, so obviously there's legal fees that go with that. But if the client is able to to pay for the legal fees, and if they want to hire me as their attorney, I'll take their case.
Okay.
And what I'm doing is I'm representing that client on the law, on the facts, and also on that client as an individual, as a person. I have clients who come in charged with the most serious offenses. I handle homicides. I handle cases of child molestation, of child abuse, sexual cases. And these cases, on its face, they're not pretty. But everyone deserves a criminal offense, and everyone is innocent until proven guilty. And when a client comes to me as a criminal defense attorney, they're coming to me with an allegation. And I always ask them, when I talk to them, I don't ask them, hey, what did you do? It's, what are the accusations? Because ultimately it's up to the state to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that they committed this crime. And on top of that, let's say you're in a situation where your client did commit the crime. It's also important for us as citizens to make sure we hold law enforcement in check.
Right.
And one of my roles as an attorney is to make sure that client's rights weren't violated. Was his Fourth Amendment right against searches and seizures violated? Was his Fifth Amendment right to remain silent violated? Is he getting a fair trial? These are the things that we look at as a criminal defense attorney, where we don't only look at what ultimately happened or whether or not he can be convicted, but what's important is the process of how law enforcement got there to make that decision to make the arrest.
Because you want to make sure that the judgment, the ultimate judgment is one thing, but the process, like Anthony's telling you, you make sure everyone follows the law.
Well, without a doubt. And look, if you don't have criminal defense attorneys holding law enforcement accountable, then we're going to have them, you'll have a country and a society like China where they knock on the door.
Right.
They say, we're going to come into your house, we're going to seize your items and go through your computer and electronics. We don't live in a country like that. We have a constitution. And as criminal defense attorneys, we're part of the system to hold law enforcement in check so that you and I aren't pulled over without probable cause, that we aren't searched without probable cause, that we're secure in our personal effects and items.
One of the reasons that motivated me to ask that question about when you look at the case to see whether it's for you or not, I've been following the high-profile national stuff with some of the attorneys, and it's confusing to me that the play was made. You went to court to claim, made it a bold claim. It was invalidated, and didn't that hurt your reputation as an attorney? I thought, why would someone risk that possible loss of reputation?
Look, if you have a system where everyone agrees, you don't need lawyers. And a lot of times, someone's going to be legally wrong. The judge is going to rule against somebody in cases. And just because a judge rules against you doesn't mean that you didn't have a good faith basis to make that argument or a good faith basis to represent your client. If someone comes in and hires you, I'm hired to do a job, to advocate for my client under the confines of the law, attempt to establish and prove whatever I'm proving, if I'm proving something up, or in the alternative, to defend against an allegation that somebody's made. And when I defend against an allegation, I take a position. And my position is my client either didn't do this, somebody else did this, it didn't happen at all. There's different positions we could take. And ultimately, a judge or a jury, in my circumstances, is going to decide whether or not they believe or agree with my position. But ultimately, as an attorney, you're advocating a position. You're not the one saying, I know for a fact this is what happened. You're not a witness.
Right.
What you say as an attorney is not fact. It's your argument. It's your belief. It's what you're advocating for somebody. So when you have somebody who's taking a position that may be contrary or maybe counter or maybe something that we all look at and say, really, that guy's arguing that?
Right.
They got to argue something.
Right.
I mean, you have to take a position if you're hired to take that position. I mean, look at Trump's lawyers.
Right.
I mean, that's what we're talking about. Sidney Powell, the position that she took. She was advocating the position of her client.
Right.
And in that circumstance, the president of the United States, who believed that the election was rigged.
Right.
And she's going to make that position based upon what she believes the evidence to show, what her client is telling her to do or him to do.
Right.
And you're going to make the argument, whether it's right or wrong.
It just occurred to me that if there was a lack of evidence, you may not risk your character, or it may be beneficial. Maybe I didn't see behind the curtain, hey, this is great for me. Just the fact that I'm representing the case this size is a boon for me.
Well, look, we as attorneys all take an oath. And the oath of an attorney requires us not to put forward a cause that we feel to be immoral, unethical, or one that really shouldn't be put forward.
Right.
So as an attorney, we do have a right and a responsibility not to file frivolous claims, not to make frivolous arguments. And an attorney who's doing that is violating their oath as an attorney.
Okay.
And we have a governing body, a bar, or in whatever circumstance it may be, if it's the federal courts or the judge, who's going to determine whether or not the cause that you're setting forward is one that is so extreme or is not founded in fact that it violates your ethical obligation. So we do have an obligation as lawyers that if there's a cause or someone wants you to bring something, we have the right to say no and not take that case.
Right. Okay. Now, Anthony, last few minutes, you mentioned this unique case you had that you worked about an accidental shooting. Yeah. And what occurred to me about it is it's rare that you get both sides to kind of think with common sense and be rational. And it sounds like you were able to get this accomplished.
Yeah, one of the most tragic cases I've handled. Most of my work is criminal defense, but I do have cases where I represent victims of crimes. And my client, Bradley Hewlett, was shot in the back of the head. Was shot and killed by his friend with a Sig Sauer P320. And it was a tragic case, made local and national news, and ultimately we resolved the case against the person who held the gun when it discharged, killing Bradley. And it was a very unique circumstance of how we got to that point because, the 15-year-old who was charged was looking at 30 years in prison, double his life in prison. And there were a lot of emotions on both sides of this case. And at the end of the day, my clients came together with the state attorney's office, with counsel for the defendant and myself, and we came together and worked out a resolution that didn't put this 15-year-old in prison, that hopefully is going to make some good in the world. So what we did is we sat down, all of us together, the state attorney's office, the defense counsel, myself, with the person who actually killed Bradley Hewlett and his parents.
Wow.
And they talked, and he told them everything that happened that day. And they cried together, they hugged, and at the end of the day, he's going to be able to have hopefully a good, successful life,
right,
but also assist with the BH3 Foundation, which is a foundation is made in Bradley's honor to help educate people about the dangers of possessing firearms, holding firearms, and most importantly, storing firearms safely.
Yeah.
We also learned at the end of the day that the P320 it's a bad weapon. It's a faulty weapon. It's subject to multiple lawsuits. A TPD officer recently shot himself in the leg, didn't even pull the trigger, went off in his pocket and shot himself with that same firearm. So, with the facts of the case, with the family coming together, they decided that this was the best result.
Well, it's nice to think that you can put some things aside and look at healing and try to figure out the best way to get everybody healed. That's such a unique resolution. I'm glad to hear that happen for you, Anthony. All right, therickmanlawfirm.com. Any other things you want to hit in the last 30 seconds here, Anthony?
No, I think we've talked about it. When you're hiring an attorney, when you're going out looking for somebody, interview that lawyer. Make sure that is a right attorney for your case and that he is the person that's going to be handling your case. Make sure he's going to put in the work. Make sure he's going to do what's best for you. And at the end of the day, it's probably one of the most, especially in my world, one of the most important decisions you're going to make in your life.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Anthony Rickman, therickmanlawfirm.com. Don't go anywhere, guys. I got Greg Bowman, the AC guy of Tampa Bay, coming up, and I got a really good story about a Thanksgiving Day distribution going on right here in the Bay Area that you can get involved in. Don't go anywhere. This is the Consumer Quarterback.
Hey, this is Grant Cardone, and you've been listening to the phenomenal Brandon Rhymes, the Consumer Quarterback Show.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com.
Dennis Prager here for Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes, owners of the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams. Buying, selling, investing in real estate, their nationwide Keller Williams network makes them the best team to work with. Sellers, have your property featured live on air, creating multiple offers. Buyers, leverage a unique system that gets your offer accepted, never overlooked. Call or text 813-750-0550, 813-750-0550, or consumerqb.com.
Hey, Margie here with the Consumer Quarterback Show and the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. If you're buying, selling, or investing, please give us a shot. We would love to help you. We are a top 1% ranked real estate team here in Tampa Bay, and you can reach us at 813-750-0550. Call or text 813-750-0550. ConsumerQB.com.
Hey, Brandon Rhymes here, host of the Consumer Quarterback Show, owner of Platinum MVP Realty, and a top listing agent in Tampa Bay, featured in Florida Realtor Magazine, Top Agent Magazine, The Business Journal. We're looking for inventory. Attention sellers, we need more inventory to sell. If you're a seller on the fence thinking about selling your property, we want to hear from you. Free comparable market analysis. Check out consumerqb.com.
Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894. You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
That's right. ConsumerQB.com is a great resource for you out there. We want you to check out the website. Also, our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel, search Brandon Rhymes and Consumer Quarterback Show. We got a lot of great shows are archived there, as well as a lot of clips from our guests and our partners. Our sponsors are also involved, like Golf Cart Depot, another great sponsor for the show. If you're looking for a golf cart, and most folks have one these days, it's amazing how many families have a golf cart. The kids are pulling each other on skateboards and they're out trick-or-treating or walking the dog, whatever you do. But get in touch with Golf Cart Depot. They've got all kinds of makes and models, service, service, financing, everything you need. They're the one-stop shop. Golf Cart Depot, great sponsor for the show. And, of course, Brandon owns the Platinum MVP team. We're going to take a look at a couple of properties here that are available to you through him. What do you got for me, Johnny? Our TV producer throws them up on the screen for me, and I take a look at them. Here's one in Madeira Beach. So if you're looking to get into the Madeira Beach area, 722 Pruitt Drive. This is Unit A. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. It's got about 1,400 square feet. It's a duplex right on the beach. Deep water access, great place to live and work. Check it out. If you're getting to Madeira Beach, 722 Pruitt Drive. Get in touch with Brandon. And let's look at one more if we could, John. Let's try to find another property out there besides this one in Madeira. Oh, we got one in Tampa. Look at this, 4302 North Nebraska Ave. This is an office building right in the Seminole Heights area. You got a wood floor and a decorative fireplace. The big thing about this one is it's right in the corner, and about 50,000 cars a day go by this spot. So great commercial opportunity, and you've got your own billboard. So advertising kind of built in at 4302 North Nebraska Avenue in Tampa. Get in touch with Brandon. Don't leave money on the table. All right, before the break, we're going to talk to Greg Bowman. He's going to tease a little bit about what we talk about. He comes in all the time and educates us on air conditioning and all the different technology and what's going on out there. Lately, you've been telling me that the price of the components and everything going on in your world of inflation, we're all experiencing a little bit, is hitting you guys a little harder than everybody else.
Most definitely, yeah. We're really seeing the price of particularly equipment, but even materials just going through the roof. We just can't, actually even some materials we can't get. I'll go to order materials for a job, and I'll have to go to 3 or 4 different vendors because each one only has certain parts. So it's just insane what's going on.
Now, I know there's lots of air conditioning companies all over the place, but our state's got to be one of the priority places for air conditioning. You know, if you had to pick the 10 top states in America, I figure Florida's got to be in there for needs, purchase, sales, all that kind of stuff. So you'd think if we're struggling with inflation and getting the materials, you can imagine everyone else is doing the same.
Yeah, I would imagine that other areas are. I would agree that this is a very top state for air conditioning. Yeah. Our business is heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. So other markets might be struggling with it on the heating side. We don't do very much on the heating side, but the systems we are installing are capable of that. So I'm sure it's affecting other areas as well, but it's definitely been an issue.
Now, when you come on, you always help teach me a little bit about this, because I always say, well, Carrier, I have a name from my childhood. I don't know why, but I associate certain carriers or brands like Carrier with performance or quality. Perhaps it's just the advertising campaign over the years that I've listened to. You've kind of told me the key here is the warranty and making sure that the install is correct.
Most definitely, yeah. The 2 parts of that are the warranty. You mentioned the advertising campaign. That has really become what it's all about. Like Carrier, Trane, Lennox, your big name brands, they put a lot of dollars behind that. So they kind of influence the market perception of their value. I think the warranty is the more important thing to look at on that, but then particularly the installation. An air conditioning system that's put in your home is not a finished product. When you buy that, you're buying components and you're essentially assembling it in your house. So it'd be kind of like if we went to buy a car, and when we buy a car, we go to the dealership, we're buying a finished product. It's gone down the assembly line, it's been checked, we know everything's good and put together well. Right. When you're buying an air conditioning system, you're not buying that finished product. So it would be like deciding who you're going to hire to put your car together when you buy it. You're just going to buy the components, and then who's going to put it together. Are you going to go for the guy who's the cheapest price, or are you going to go for the guy who knows what he's doing?
Not just that he needs to know what he's doing, but your unique house could be the design, could be the elements it's constructed of, could be, there's lots of variables to consider at the location, even after you've purchased the hardware.
Most definitely, yeah. A lot of times we'll get calls from people wanting to know, how much is it going to cost to put a 3-ton system in? Well, that's hard to say because we're not looking at your house, and that's really the key point there. Absolutely. Because every house is different, so it does vary it.
So when you talk, we're going to get after the break. We're going to talk a little bit about split systems and all the different ways Greg can solve some of the unique problems that your house might have. With sun gets hot on one side or something like that. You've seen all the different issues play out. We've talked about having split systems and different things out there. Just if you could, just a few seconds here before we go to the break. If I want to go to acguyoftampa.com, can I see some of the jobs you guys have done?
There is stuff there, yes. There are some pictures there of if you scroll through stuff, you'll see some of the work we've done. Okay. We also can send that. We've got files of it. If you've got particular interest, we can send those out.
I just want everyone out there to realize to separate Greg from the rest of the folks out there selling air conditioning, because he's got really great knowledge in this area. We're going to talk a little bit when we get back about what makes him unique. Again, thanks so much for coming in, Greg. We've got a feel-good story for you about some volunteers right here in the Bay Area distributing Thanksgiving meals to homebound families families. We're going to talk about that in our Feel Good section. Don't go anywhere. This is the Consumer Quarterback Show.
This is Chris Voss, former FBI lead hostage negotiator and owner of the Black Swan Group, and you're listening to Consumer Quarterback Show hosted by my friend Brandon Rice.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com.
Five, four, three, two, one.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rimes. Online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
That's right. Please do give Brandon a call if you want to get in touch with any of the expert contributors you hear on the Consumer Quarterback Show or our great sponsors like Veteran Gutters. Brandon Porter owns Veteran Gutters. You know, we get a lot of rain down here if you haven't noticed. And if you don't have gutters on your house, that water is coming off your roof is just pounding into the ground, and it's not great for your foundation. So you want to get that water pushed away if you can. And Brandon Porter and his team, also veterans, does a great job. So get in touch with Veteran Gutters, Brandon Porter, longtime friend of the show. And of course, we're going to pitch a few properties here on the Consumer Quarterback Show because Brandon owns the Platinum MVP team. So we got one for you right here. What do you got for me, John? One of the properties is in Tampa, 4214 North Nebraska. This is a dry cleaning business and real estate property for sale. So about 2,400 square feet in Seminole Heights. You got some extra storage, and there's actually 2 bathrooms in this property. So a commercial opportunity for a dry cleaner business right here in Tampa. Get in touch with Brandon. Don't leave money on the table. Okay, before the break, we were talking to Greg Bowman, and he was helping us understand there's some new tech in AC, but really you got to understand who's installing your system and what the warranty is, because those are 2 critical parts to whatever you're doing. Now, we've conquered some unique things. We talked about humidity, the ability to reduce humidity in the home. Greg has also introduced us to the idea of UV light for disinfectant. So there's some systems that involve UV light. And then the split system you talked to me about in the past for cooling when you have issues at your house where one room gets super hot and one might not, where the thermostat might be. Could we start with the UV light? Because that's really cool, and I don't understand it very well.
Yeah, ultraviolet light is there's different variations of that, but it's basically an air cleaning process where we're taking the same wavelength of light that's coming off the sun, but a particular wavelength, 254 nanometers, and there's a bulb that generates that wavelength. That wavelength is disruptive to the DNA of viruses and bacteria. So when we apply that typically inside the air handler of the system, it creates basically a kill zone, and any bacteria or viruses or molds or mildews that are floating in the air that come through there and are exposed to that light are essentially neutralized and sterilized. So it enables us to reduce airborne bacteria, viruses, mold, and mildews.
Because I've been remiss in not mentioning indoor air quality, which is a critical factor for all you folks out there. I've just been talking about cooling your house because it gets so hot down here. We don't even necessarily think about the quality of the air you're breathing. So that's something that definitely works in that regard. The UV light systems, I imagine, since the COVID thing, they've gone up in demand a little bit.
Yeah, we've actually, when COVID first released, we had a problem getting them. Particular units, we were on 5, 6, 10-week backlogs for them for a while. Now most of them are back in stock again, but yeah, the UV light is proven to be very effective, particularly against the COVID virus. So it's a great way to ensure that the air is being cleaned of that inside your home or business.
Hey, Greg, our issue down here, at least for me, seems like humidity is the big thing. And we've talked before about how you could even have a system that just removes humidity and not even cool. If you chose to do it that way, you could actually just remove humidity from the air. What is the role of humidity in terms of when you are building a system? Do you get what is the ideal amount of humidity you want in the home? Or is there a threshold at which you say, hey, this is a problem, we've got to reduce that?
Yeah, well, in our market, we typically are trying to keep humidity below 60%.
Okay.
Typically in Florida, 45 to 60 is ideal, and it's where we want to be. We rarely have a problem of too little humidity. The northern markets, because they're heating markets, they'll have too little humidity. They have to add humidity with humidifiers that do that in the wintertime. We never have that problem really here. Our problem is always too much humidity. So the air conditioning system, by its nature, actually removes humidity as part of the cooling process, but sometimes that's not enough. So then there are other ways to tackle that.
Yeah, I just found that's a critical aspect that I don't think much of in terms of the health of the home. You know what I mean? We talked about indoor air quality. Reducing the temperature, sure, it's great, going to feel better in there, but reducing that humidity is also going to have an effect. It's going to feel better. You're not even going to realize it. A lot of folks don't even think they can do that.
Correct. Yeah, and actually, the lower the humidity, if we can get that humidity lower, the temperature feels cooler at a higher temperature.
Yeah.
That's why when you go to Arizona or that part of the country where they have virtually no humidity or very low humidity, they can tolerate 100-degree temperatures outside and not die. If we had 100-degree temperatures here, we would be not moving.
Okay, so that's definitely a factor. And with our intense heat, and we talk about the power of the sun in the state of Florida, it's possible that one side of your house gets absolutely lit up with the morning sun and is 10 or 15 degrees hotter than another part of your home. So folks out there with an issue where this room's incredibly hot and this room doesn't need any of the air conditioning, you've got different ways to slay that.
We do. The traditional system that we've always used in the United States is a ducted air conditioning system where you've got ductwork. We can tackle it through that with what's called zoning, where you have basically electronic dampers that open and close to distribute which way the air is going. So in the time when it's hot, it sends the air towards where it needs it. When it doesn't, it shuts it off and sends it a different direction.
Like a smart system on a whole new level.
But then there's also the mini split systems, which we've talked about before, which are ductless systems, where you'd have basically a wall cassette or a ceiling cassette in each different zone of the house or room of the house. So they don't have ductwork that we're distributing the air through, but we distribute the refrigerant to those cassettes, and then those individual cassettes do the cooling and provide it to that room. So we can tackle it that same way with a mini split.
Would that be exposed in the room, or is that up above the ceiling?
It depends. The wall cassettes typically are mounted on the wall, so they might stick off the wall a little bit. The ceiling cassettes are typically in the ceiling, so they might just look like a 2x4 or 2x2 grid in the ceiling, like a drop ceiling grid, but there's a cassette there in a ceiling
And that's still controlled by the central thermostat in the home?
Each one of those would have its own thermostat, so we're able to control each area. Same thing with the zoning system, with a ducted system. Each area has its own thermostat, so we can measure the temperature and humidity in those areas and then distribute air accordingly.
Do you recommend folks who've had an AC system for a little while updating their thermostat? Is there any advantage to having a more modern thermostat if you haven't changed out any of the guts?
Most definitely, if you don't have a digital thermostat, which they're still out there, there's still Mercury's out there. It's well worth it. To the modern thermostats, particularly the Wi-Fi thermostats, you can connect to the internet and control from anywhere. Right. There's a lot of value in that. Even if you don't want to do the whole Wi-Fi thing, a digital thermostat being able to control the temperature much more accurately than a Mercury means your system's running less because it's not getting wide swings of temperature that happen with those. The new modern thermostats also have the ability to measure humidity more accurately, and then we can use that information to make the system target the humidity if need be.
You know, I sometimes laugh at some of the smart features that have developed in, your dishwasher or whatever it might be, but the AC is absolutely one that makes sense because you can turn it on and off before you arrive, you know what I mean? You can regulate your temperature, so that's a great way to not cool your house if you're not there.
Yeah. The thermostat has been the traditional way. We've gone after that. Some manufacturers now are actually starting to build that in. So I would envision within the next decade it will be standard on units coming out that they'll be internet connected, and they will communicate. Be able to communicate operating information, system failures, all that kind of stuff. So probably before the homeowner even knows there's something wrong, their service provider will be able to know, hey, your unit's saying there's a problem, we need to get out there.
That's critical too. It's a lot like your VIP program I want you to mention, because maintenance is going to keep you from having that catastrophic failure.
Most definitely. That's the importance of maintenance, just like maintaining your car. If you drove your car for 3 years and never changed the oil, when you took it in, you're going to have some issues. But yet people don't think about that with their air conditioning system, even though the traditional air conditioning system runs the equivalent of 75,000 miles in a car every year. So if we ran a car for 225,000 miles and never did any maintenance on it, we shouldn't be surprised when it blows up on us.
No kidding.
It's the same way with the air conditioning system.
The website is acguyoftampa.com. Greg Bowman, he is the acguyoftampa.com. Now, we've had your daughter on the show and some other folks. Have you expanded any new employees over there?
We've grown a little bit, yeah. We've added to our service and our install department. We've grown a little bit this year. So every year we've been continuing to see that success and continuing to grow.
You still looking?
Always. We constantly have an ad up because you never can find the good enough people.
That's right.
It's always a challenge.
Greg Bowman, thanks so much for coming into our Salem Media Group studios. The AC Guy of Tampa Bay. You can see he has a great wealth of knowledge in this area. So if you're looking to get a trusted advisor, maybe some questions you want to ask, Greg's your guy. So check him out, the AC Guy of Tampa Bay. Website, acguyoftampa.com. Don't go anywhere. We got a feel-good story for you about Thanksgiving volunteers. And Nick Shriver, Decorating Elves, is going to help get your house ready for the holidays. Don't go anywhere. This is the Consumer Quarterback.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show. And I say, Brandon Rhymes, knock out your competition.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com.
Hey, Brandon Rhymes here. We are looking for real estate investors. We've got a new relationship bringing us a tremendous amount of off-market real estate investment opportunities. So text the word investor to our hotline, 813-750-0550. Off-market real estate investment opportunities. Text investor to 813-750-0550. Brandon Rhymes here, Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty, looking for real estate investors. Send us a text. Hey, Brandon Rhymes here for Cleaning Commandos here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Cleaning Commandos are hiring, and they're offering competitive wages, flexible hours, relaxed atmosphere, and a sign-on bonus. Reach out if you'd like a career with the Cleaning Commandos here in Tampa Bay. Info at cleaningcommandosllc.com or call 813-750-0550, 813-750-0550. Cleaning Commandos, Consumer Quarterback Show.
You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
ConsumerQB.com, a great resource for you to check out all our partners and contributors and sponsors. Or you can go to the YouTube channel, Brandon Rhymes. Search Brandon Rhymes, Platinum MVP Team, Consumer Quarterback Show. Lots of archive shows, lots of clips, lots of great stuff for you, all about our show. In addition to some of the things our show is famous for, like the feel-good story, which I've got for you right here, about some volunteers right in Tampa, Florida. So this week is Thanksgiving Day meals were delivered to 2,000 families across Tampa Bay. All these families are homebound due to disability or lack of transportation. The deliveries are possible thanks to volunteers like Marla Adams and Sandy Pulpiter. There are less fortunate people that really need help during the holidays, said Adams. Marla and Sandy had already made 9 deliveries before lunch on Monday. Every one of these families receives a turkey, a box filled with all the sides and fixings. She says it's so easy to get wrapped up in yourself and what's going on in your life. It's just so nice to take a moment to think about somebody else. This is the second annual Meals on Wheels for Kids Holidays on Wheels program. It is a collaboration between Tampa Bay Network to End Hunger and Metropolitan Ministries. This is incredibly important. I mean, it's the holiday season, and this is Thanksgiving meal that they're going to get, so they're able to enjoy the holidays with their families despite any other challenges they might be dealing with. We're bringing the meal directly to their doorstep, said Tony Thomas from Tampa Bay Network to End Hunger. We're seeing a lot of different families that have different hardships, and we're kind of getting a little taste of what that is when we deliver the meals directly to them. We've fallen on hard times. One of the recipients says, my spouse was out of work for 3 months from surgery. Then I had to have surgery, and then we went back to work. It's just so nice that our family is able to eat Thanksgiving meal, and we're so grateful. Again, it's humbling and heartwarming to know that you're making a difference in somebody's life, and that's what the Consumer Quarterback Show is really advocating, guys. Pay it forward. Do something nice for somebody else, and you'll feel the benefits much more than if you just think about yourself out there. So that is the Consumer Quarterback's feel-good story. I've got Nick Shriver, Decorating Elves, on the show. radio just in time for the holidays, Nick. I want you to transform everyone's house in the Bay Area into something the kids are going to love. How do you do it?
Well, hey, James, thanks for having me. I really appreciate that. And, yeah, let's talk about transforming houses in the Bay Area. So, first thing that you all can do is, obviously I'm going to talk about make sure that you're having a safe time doing it. So let's make sure that if we're getting those ladders out of the garage, we're doing all that stuff, that we give them a one-over.
Right.
Before we start climbing up and down them, right? Because we want to make sure that something's not broken on there, that even though we're getting ready to jump into this event, then we want to make sure that we get through it and it doesn't keep us from having other good events that follow. So
that's right.
We'll start with that. So a lot of people, outlining the roof line is always a really good idea, So putting that set of string lights, and whether you're using the C9 bulb, which is the bigger traditional bulb that's been around for a really long time, or you're using something smaller like a C7, which is just a little bit smaller, or if you're really just kind of in the economical area and you're using a mini light, outlining that roof line, that trim piece, the front of that is a really good way of doing that. And so they make a lot of types of different clips out there that fit on the gutter or fit up under the drip edge. And at the end of the day, if you really want a cheat, you can just grab a pack of binder clips, from the office and just hold them up there. Yeah.
Some practical advice for you so you don't have to, tie everything up and spend all that time tethering and untethering.
Yeah, right. So just make it easy. White is always a good way to do. And if you're if you're going to start to layer in color, let's really think about that before you start getting in and just start mixing colors all over the place.
Yeah. You stay red, green, blue, or something like that, or you see anything else out there?
Well, with the LED, everything is available.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But white is the tradition. White's the clean look. It's the classic look. It's the fail-safe. Like, it's the one that always looks good. And so if you're going to start to blend color, I recommend blending colors with white because there's tons of colors. There's fluorescence, there's neon. A big thing that's been coming on strong in the last couple of years is these what we call the hanging meteors. And they're these teardrop type things that you hang in the trees, you hang from the roof lines, and they kind of cascade down, and they're kind of a snowfall effect.
Okay.
They're really pretty. They're really cool. They're in white. Some of the retailers sell those now a lot. You can definitely get them online with the online type wholesalers and those types of guys. What's really been popular that we've been putting out this year are these kind of spheres looking things. And we did the downtown district in Sarasota. We did 1,400 of these. We just finished that project a couple weeks ago. So if you go from 301 to Gulfview, which is right down Main Street, Sarasota, and it's beautiful down there. It is just absolutely stunning and gorgeous. We're actually in the middle of working a project in downtown Dunedin also. Not sure if we're going to be incorporating that in yet. We're still kind of in the design phases, but we're really going to make some of their parks look amazing. But we do that at a different scale, So
sure.
Back to kind of helping the regular guy out there with his home. I always like to think that it's a good idea that if you got kids, it's a great way to say, hey, put that device down. Come on out there and help me.
Yeah.
We've all seen the movie. We all need a rough,
That's right. Hey, I've noticed a lot more of these displays are incorporating audio. Have you had any devices that work in audio, background music or whatever?
So audio is super cool, man. It is getting to be amazing, and it's getting to be really easy. So the audio is really cool, and not just audio now, it's app controlled. So we've got some good displays that are audio where it's timed with the music. You're setting the whole display up, and then the song gets programmed in there, and it's an input-output board. There's manufacturers out there that have them so that all you got to do is plug it in, plug and play, and then they have them out there where you can actually write the program and then integrate it in. So that's something, but that's either like a really, really time-consumed DIYer, or you see that on the really high-level entertainment level.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's really coming on, and LED has made this possible, app technology has made it possible, the ability to purchase product and then buy product that's app-controlled. Now, a lot of app-controlled product is limited in its ability, and it's basically because of the load, the electrical load, the distribution load. So you can only do a couple of sets. So if you really got a huge display, or you're going to do something that takes a lot of lights in a row, then you need to really consider sticking to some of the more traditional things that we've been using for years.
Right.
But those app-controlled things are cool, especially if you're going to buy a cool thing for the inside of your house. That's a great way to spend a few extra dollars to get that indoor tree. It's one you like to do with an app. But here's the lesson that I've learned over the years is everybody loves that app on day one, but by the time they get to day 3, the novelty is worn off, and they just want it to come on. They want it to stay on, and they don't want to mess with it again.
Might not take advantage of all the utilities.
Yeah, there's, and as people get more and more used with their phones, there is generational people that are phone everything. But you said it, you go, oh, that's the one I like, and then you just kind of leave it. Right, and a lot of us end up settling on traditionally what we like to begin with, which doesn't have anything to do with the app. But there are a lot of cool stuff out there. I mean, my house, for example, we put the lights up before Halloween. We left them up. Now I change them with the app. I'll turn them on, going into the weekend, change colors, and then
that's exactly what I need. I don't want the ladder out there, Nick. So I'm just going to use the remote to change it up. Yeah,
and it's available. That product's out there. It's a little more money. It takes a little more technology. It's a little more finicky if it has an air. But yeah, it's still the technology, LED, the technology, the app, all of these things. There's so many options in the color palette now. The supply chain is, everybody knows this, right? Sure. If you haven't heard this, I don't know what rock you've been hiding under. Everybody knows supply chain's an issue.
Right.
Most of this product comes from Asia. It gets manufactured in Asia. It comes through the Long Beach port. So a lot of it's backlogged. So if there's something that you want and you see it in a retailer, you need to jump on it. Like, you need to get it. And if this is the year that you go, you know what, we're not going to do that crazy display. We're just going to stick to whatever we pull out of the garage. Then hey, that's a good idea, because there's going to be a lot of stuff that's not going to hit the shelves. Now, I have a suspicion, prediction, and I don't know how accurate I'm going to be, is that there's going to be a lot of product on the shelf in January, because the product's still been ordered. It's still coming into the States. Mm-hmm. It's just the question is it going to get to the shelf in time that it meets the season? But it's still coming here,
Yeah.
And the retailers aren't going to be like, oh, yeah, we'll put that in a container until next year. That's not the way they operate.
Okay.
So if y'all are having major plans, you might want to, think about that on the back end of the season.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that prediction holds true. That's kind of, reading tea leaves there, but, you never know.
Let me ask you this. We talked about the ability to change the color with the remote control. Could you get a security lighting system in place and then actually convert that into a holiday system using the different tools that are available in the system?
James, that is a really good question. So we do permanent outdoor lighting. We do permanent landscape lighting. And when we say permanent, year-round, 10, 20, 15-year life. And we have an RGB type product. And there's a couple different brands out there where you can go with the normal traditional whites. You can uplight your trees. You can uplight your house. You can downlight things. You can do a lot of different functions with them. And a lot of the 5 benefits that I talk about, we can do all of that. But the product gives you the ability to change colors. So if you're going into a holiday like now, you can change those trees over there to red.
Yeah, that is cool.
The house to green, and it's really cool. It adds a lot of features.
Yeah. It just occurs to me that we don't sell the security too much because it's the holiday season right now. But everybody wants that good light outside. We talked about extending the usability of your property and all that. If you can get all in one, man, you got to get in touch with Nick for that.
Well, absolutely, and that's one of the benefits in that. Getting with a professional company like ourselves,
right.
Making sure you're using qualified designer, making sure you use somebody that's familiar with what's going on in the market and the industry, because there's a lot of brands out there that are advertising these bills of goods, and a lot of stuff coming from overseas that's been designed. And yes, quote unquote, it does that, but it doesn't do it very well. So you got to know which brands work with Bluetooth, which brands work with Wi-Fi, which brands work with your RCA, which brands, you got to do static. And so when you start dealing with a lot of technology, you got to know who's doing what and how it integrates with everything else and how you plan to use it. Because you could buy Wi-Fi. We could put a Wi-Fi based system in And if you don't have a mesh network or you don't have some of this other stuff,
right,
it's not going to work. It's just not going to do its thing. And so you know, absolutely, you absolutely do. And it's one of those things where if you have good design in the outdoor lighting category as a whole, you're going to get security. You're going to get safety. You're going to get usability. You're going to get value. You know what I mean? You're going to get all these key points. And then if you really want some functionality and you want the ability to stretch, yes, you can get RGB color. You can get some of these other things that you can tune.
That is awesome.
To seasonal kinds of things, you know? Like, and the cool thing is it's not just Christmas. Like, you can do other holidays.
You know, we talked about Halloween as well and some of the other things that Nick has done in the past. DecoratingElves.com. Transform your property for the holidays and then take advantage of all the benefits of outdoor lighting throughout the year. Thanks so much for coming on, Nick. And I want you to have a great holiday for me, will you?
You too, James. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much to Brandon Rhymes for letting me host this show. Thanks so much for all our expert contributors, our sponsors, and you, the audience. This has been the Consumer Quarterback Show.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play. Call Brandon Rhymes at 813-917-1894. That's 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com. And join us next time for the Consumer Quarterback Show.